Jenee, you are obviously, I had the pleasure to meet you, but so many people have told me about Jenee, and I was like, how y'all know about Jenee? And I don't know about Jenee. So this is such an honor for me. So first of all, I'm gonna go on Facebook, make sure we're live. I do that every week because just like you know, we had our little technical difficulties. You never know, and I want to make sure that everybody can hear us. I can turn my volume down so I'm not double listening. Let's see here. Yes, we're live. We're live. We're live. We're live. Hello, family. How are you? I trust that everybody is doing well. I am so excited to be with you today. We are entering into the month of October already. Already, we are going into the second week of October. This is crazy. That's yeah, we're in the second week. I almost want to say third week. Well, if you count Friday, you know how the week started. So I'm so excited to be here with you. I hope everybody, no matter where you are, that I hope life is treating you well mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I hope that doors are opening up for you beyond your greatest imagination. I hope you're claiming your life's victory. This is your time to shine. And I pray that you're claiming it. And if by chance everything I said doesn't apply to you. You don't feel none of the things that I just said. I want to tell you to hold on because there's something beautiful about life. Everything has to come full circle. Every up got to come down. So you just hold on and trust, believe, have faith. That's what this platform is all about. And you too shall overcome whatever obstacle you have in front of you. And I did say that whatever obstacle you have in front of you, you too can overcome. I'm so excited to introduce to you this week Jenee Johnson. Welcome, Jenee.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What a joy to be with you.
Oh, it is my pleasure. And I can't wait to have this amazing dialogue. I want to say this is truly meant to be a dialogue. Join the conversation. Join the conversation. Well, Cheryl, how do I join the conversation? You just listen in, and when something resonates with you, have a comment about it. How are you working through it? How is it working for you? And is the advice that it's being given really helping you to
Mhm,
transcend where you are?
mhm.
That's a being a part of this dialogue and conversation. It's not to be meant to be for us to be a monologue where we're just talking. We really want to include you. This platform was built for you. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about the platform. For those of you who follow me weekly, thank you. I appreciate you. For those of you who are logging in for the first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. And I just want to say to you, your support is so appreciated. It's not easy all the time. Every week, doing this week after week, we provide this to you for free. And a part of our pride here at SGI is about uplifting women and uplifting women of color. And this is the platform where you get to have a voice. And I don't know of a platform that talks about professionals, what they're doing on a consistent basis. That's all I do every day. So I want to say to you, I created it for you. Take advantage of it. And we're so excited to have you here today. So I'm going to go ahead and get started today because the one thing about time, it flies. And I want to make sure that we're getting the most from this interview that we have today. So this platform was truly created. We're here to highlight both the journey and the success stories of professionals and entrepreneurs of color. We want to explore all the important and necessary information to help guide, inspire, and encourage all aspiring business owners and professionals of color. We plan to equip them with specific concrete examples, tools, tips, and tricks to lead them toward their own success, not only in business, but in life. The question
Mhm,
is, are you ready to get fit? Fit stands for faith, intuition, and tenacity. Faith is
mm.
your ability to believe in the unseen. It's your ability to learn how to practice believing in the unseen until you get to the other side. Have you ever heard somebody say, pray until something happens? Keep pushing until something happens. That's what you want to do. Faith is your ability to really hone in and know it's going to get better. You don't question it, there's no doubt. Then there's intuition, and your intuition is really learning how to listen to yourself. But the only way that you can learn how to listen to yourself is you have to still that your mind, because there's so much grabbing at our attention. mentioned, social media, our families, our careers, life in general, it's pulling at us in every different direction. And the only way that I know to get centered is to get meditation. Meditation all day, every day teaches you how to control the mind and quiet the mind. So you have meditation, that's your intuition, and then tenacity. Once you apply all that, you got to get into action. Action is everything. I say to you, if you're depressed, take a walk. Like, get into movement, and we'll be talking about I'll leave it to Miss Jenee to help us through some mindfulness, because that's what we're here to talk about today. But to help you push through when you are going through something, that's tenacity, your ability, your will, your strength, your belief to believe in something and put it into action. And through that, I know with a shadow of doubt that you can achieve your goal. I became Miss Olympia at 55. So you can't tell me it's not possible, because I use those tools to do that. And nobody could have told me, not at 55, that I could achieve that goal. And if I can do that, so can you. So today, without further ado, I want to introduce this amazing guest that we have before us. Jenee is a certified mindfulness emotional intelligence teacher and the founder of the Right Within Experience, a mindfulness immersion program that reclaims humanity, joy, and well-being for people of African ancestry through mindfulness practices. Program innovation leader, she's mindfulness, trauma, and racial healing pioneer, and leads the unique effort to bring mindfulness into public health practices and programs through the Trauma Informed System of Care initiative in San Francisco Department of Public Health. Her goal is to improve the organization's ability to manage change, stay resilient, inspire growth, and become a mindful culture that leads and serves with compassion. Mindfulness, trauma, and racial healing, reclaiming the humanity, joy, and well being for people of African ancestry through mindful practice to build resiliency and the power to thrive in spite of structural adversity and racism. No matter where you are, please join me and welcome me, Jenee. Welcome,
Thank
Jenee
you.
Johnson.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that enthusiastic welcome. I'm so glad to be with you.
Yes, well, I have to tell everybody, first of all, if you can hear us, whether you're chiming in, just say yes so that I know that you really can hear us. But I have to tell you, it was a beautiful journey. I was walking through Nordstrom's
Mhm.
and I happened to run into somebody I used to work with. And she was like, Cheryl, how are you doing? I started talking to her, and that led to my conversation with you. And it was an instant connection for me. I was like, oh my God, Jenee, I need to have you on my platform. Your presence, your calmness, your it was just this spiritual feeling that I got from you. And I said, I have to have her. So thank you for trusting me and coming on my platform to share your story.
You're welcome. My pleasure. It's great to share what is in the field of mindfulness, neuroscience, and the things that really can be at our fingertips so that we can flourish and thrive. And so I'm happy to be with you.
Awesome. Well, the thing I want to ask you is, like, do you have your microphone on your phone up?
I can
I'm,
want me to
I'm getting some feedback, and sometimes that's one of the things that can cause a little bit of feedback. So, Jenee, I want to ask you a question.
Okay,
And
can you hear me?
yes, I can. The question that I want to ask you, Jenee, what are you passionate about?
Oh my goodness. I'm passionate about life. I'm passionate about flourishing, and I'm passionate about rewriting the narratives that hold us back and really and truly locating ourselves on the human timeline in a way that supports our well being and truly our flourishing, our clarity, and our happiness. often as people who are of African ancestry, we start our history, we start talking about ourselves from the point of coming to America, 1619. But actually, we were on the planet over 300,000 years ago. And so the 400 odd years that we've been here in America is a very short space of time when you're looking at 300,000 years. So, what I'm passionate about is accurately locating myself on the human timeline that basically says that a lot has happened and we have done and been a lot besides what we have experienced in the Americas. So I'm passionate about telling the story, rewriting the narrative, reclaiming our humanity. I'm passionate about joy, and I'm passionate about all things that lead to well being.
Wow, I love that. So with that, you said a lot in that one um, intro to what you're passionate about. And you said we tend to tell our story from 300 years ago versus 300,000. 300, did you say 300,000 years ago?
Mhm.
Can we just start right there? 300, I got to write that number out. 300,000 years ago. So, with that, that tells me in my spirit that there is a psychological aspect
Mhm.
to how we look and identify ourselves. And primarily, I would say if the stories that have been told or that have been programmed from 300 years ago, that sounds like trauma. That sounds like adversity. That sounds like all the things that I know to be true about our ancestry coming over from Africa, the slave ships, the lynchings, we can go on and on in history. When you say 300,000 years ago, it resonates with me in my mind differently. Can you talk about 300? Who were we 300?
Well, let's face it. I mean, we have done amazing things in this country in spite of structural adversity. I mean, I love to talk about, we just recently celebrated the history of Black Wall Street, Greenwood. But, and we started towns. Over 100 towns were forged by people who walked off of plantations, found themselves unwelcomed in the mainstream of America, uh, formed and cooperative ways of being and forged out and started towns. And Greenwood is one of the most famous places that would be economically independent and built amazing places to live, work, go to school, receive services. The dollar circulated anywhere from 7 to 10 times in the town before it left. Even before that, we actually started civilizations, the first universities all along the Nile Valley. I mean, we have been a part of major movements in humanity. And so, through enslavement and the lie of white domination, white supremacy, the truth about who we are was not told. And not just not told to us, but not told to anybody. We all went to the same schools at a certain point. And so part of what we get to do is we really get to claim, reclaim the truth about our full human experience and put the things that have happened to us in the last several hundred years in perspective.
Yes.
And that's what is important. It's perspective. You shift perspective. Human suffering is universal. All people have suffered in some form or fashion.
Yes.
We have suffered particularly because of our race. But actually, even that is, there is some untruth under that, because there is no such thing as race. There is no biological descriptor for race. There is only one race, the human race, with its variety of um, of people.
Right.
But the whole notion that there is race is a social construct which then helps to perpetuate racism, which is real, which is mean, which is violent, which undermines the well-being of people.
Right. You know, I was recently listening to a talk show, and they were talking about trauma. And they were talking about trauma and and I may not say the right words. I know you'll help me with it, but it's um, post stress trauma distress,
Po-
PST.
Post-traumatic
Yeah, thank you.
post-traumatic stress
Disorder,
syndrome,
syndrome.
or syndrome or disorder.
So
Mhm.
one of the things in that dialogue that really was profound to me is the fact that if you think about that in our modern day society, that there are anecdotal things that you need to do in order to address issues with people who, or to address those symptoms that people may be having. But you look at a race of people that have been through many different things that never got any kind of therapy, never received any kind of help from a mental perspective. But then when I look at the resiliency of who we are and how we, in spite of it all, still continue to push through and not harbor any resentment or any of the things that when you talk about the racism or the things that could cultivate, you know, for every action there's a reaction. And I find that a phenomenon in us as a people. Now, when you're dealing with trauma and you're helping these organizations to do that, how do you address that with them? How do you go about addressing, because that's what you do, correct?
Well, trauma, a lot of people experience trauma. Trauma is basically an event or an experience that we'll talk about an individual can have, that is met with a sense of helplessness, that there's not enough resources to meet that event, and it can have deep, long lasting effects. It impacts us physically and emotionally. Because you've had a traumatic event, it doesn't always have to have long lasting effects. You can have people in the same family experience the same thing. One person finds a way through it, and the other person is stuck. The trauma is something that gets stuck in the system and just didn't have a chance to move all the way through. So, what we encourage in the work that I do in public health is we encourage people to turn to things like community. The healing balm of trauma is connection. It's when you have these negative things that have happened, and you are met with compassion and with understanding. And that's a lot of how we, as a group of people, have been able to manage and overcome the traumas that we have experienced. We came together in community where there were softer places to land. So, healing balm of trauma is community. And the other is definitely therapeutic measures, going to mental health practitioners who can help you talk it through, or through somatic work, move it through your system. Um, there's tons of therapeutic interventions, but seeking, once again, it comes back to a connection, seeking the help of one or others to help move this trauma through. There's a wonderful story, I love to tell this story, about the Rwandan genocide. And after the Rwandan genocide, where people were killed and the tremendous death and devastation, Western psychologists went to Rwanda to try to help. And they would bring people into what someone said were these dingy little rooms. And they wanted us to just retell the stories of everything that happened to us. And this Rwandan gentleman said, and we had to kick some of them out because that's not how we heal. How we heal is by sun, drum, dance, community. And so having these healing rituals and practices that help people once again move because it's an energetic, move the energetic out of the system. And what also helps is when we tell the story correctly, when we don't take on the victimization of those that have gone before us. I don't think our ancestors are actually asking us to do that. I think they want us to take the baton that they've passed to us and they want us to make the best of what they have left us and to build on that. So, trauma requires loving attention, it requires compassion, it requires the question of what has happened to you and answer that question accurately, because when you do that fosters compassion, it helps us to see strengths and resilience, and it just once again it shifts the perspective.
Wow, that is so powerful. And I think every day, given the circumstances that surround us, if every day we could take on that armor you just said and what we're approaching in life and not become a victim of it, but truly become being able to look at it through the lens that you can get through it, given what some of our ancestors have gone through, I'm confident that we can too overcome.
Absolutely.
The other thing that you just said that resonated with me so deeply was community, because I truly am a believer that the new currency, the new currency is community, because with community you can do anything. So it's so amazing that you said that that is the cure, community, getting back into community and
Mhm.
truly rebuilding. I think a lot of things that have been broken, I'm very sensitive about saying things are broken. I think some things are set up that way. They're not necessarily broken. They were designed that way. That we understand that our power resides in our ability to connect with each other, and it's through that that we can support each other in becoming what it is that we were born to do. Whether the kings and kings of the queens of the world, what is it that you want to do, and not allowing anybody to stop you. One of the things I loved about what you do is really about mindfulness. And
Yes.
mindfulness is a really powerful tool, but I can also say from my perspective is that it's one of those things that people say, but what are the tangibles? Let me even ask it another way. Um, how have you used it on your journey when you have reached the dark side? Can you give me an example of that? Because, and Jenee, this platform is all about being fit, and fit is really a mental construct. Faith, intuition, and that is all about your mind, because if you can believe it, you can see it, then you can achieve it. I believe that hands down with everything. So how do you teach in using an example through your own life's journey?
Well, first of all, it's to understand what is mindfulness. Mindfulness is this ability to be present, to pay attention in mind, body, and surroundings, and to be able to hold that attention with an attitude of kindness and curiosity. And essentially, what that means is to be present with what is, hold it lightly, kindly, without judgment, without harshness, so that you can truly see and perceive what is there. I use this. Um, let me say this: I build mindfulness in my life through meditation by being still and quiet, focusing the attention on the breath and breathing for a few minutes. Also, through some integrated practices of like a heart math practice, which I'll teach y'all right now. So it's focusing on the breath and breathing slow and deep through the heart or chest area. Bringing the breath slow and deep through the heart or chest area for several seconds, minutes. This is called heart-focused breathing. And we do this, it's from the heart math practice, heart technology, heart science, which has us know that the heart has its own brain, if you will. The heart actually sends more messages to the brain than the brain does to the heart. And what that kind of breathing does is it allows us to quiet down the volume on depleting emotions. So when we find ourselves in overwhelming situations or find ourselves feeling a bit of fear or find ourselves feeling a bit of triggered about something, bringing the breath through the heart space, quieting the emotions so that you can have a sense of clarity and not have your attention hijacked. So I use these practices and I use a consistent practice of meditation because it rebuilds the neural pathways in the brain, which is the process called neuroplasticity. The brain is malleable through our whole lifetime. People used to think, they had that saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but the truth is you can learn at any age because the brain is malleable. It is like it is flexible. It's what you think, do, and pay attention to with consistency. That's what shapes the brain waves, if you will. That's what shapes the pathways in our brain. So one of the ways I dived deeper into mindfulness is when I was parenting a teenager. And I tell the story often that, my son would be out and about and I'd be like, Khalid, where are you? And he's like, Mom, I'm on the bus. Well, where's the bus? Just this hypervigilance. And I was like, this is just not going to work. It's not going to work for him because I am giving off a vibration of fear and upset. And it definitely is not good for my system. So through the breathing, through the meditation, through finding a place of accessing deeper reservoirs of calm, deeper reservoirs of resilience, to not let my attention be hijacked, but to say, being able to bring myself back to what's called equanimity, balance, equilibrium, to center myself, to root myself in what I know is the truth, and then to send out to him the energy of well-being, of safety, of it's all good. You use your good sense and we move through life and not buying into the story that's in the collective that would have any mother of an African American boy on the edge of her seat constantly. See, these are the narratives that often disrupt our peace and our sense of well-being. And what the mindfulness helps you do, it helps you to write the story that you actually want for your life and send that
Oh, you
into
just gave me chills. Oh, girl, you just gave me chills.
yes,
Oh my
send
goodness.
that into the world, send that into creating the experience of life that you really want to have. So that's how I use it. I use it for calming. I love keeping my snow globe here because you shake the snow globe up and it's just it's a hot mess. The snow is everywhere. But if I hold it still, what is happening? The snow settles. It settles down. And what happens? Now I can see clearly through. So what mindfulness does is it helps you to build clear-sightedness. So that's one of the ways I use mindfulness.
I'm gonna
Get
take
off of autopilot. Get off of the hijack.
I want to say to anybody, if you're not tuned in right now, then shame on you. You're missing a treat. You are missing this is just this is amazing. And really, you know what's so interesting to me is that the tools that you talk about, it we want to make things a lot more complex than what they are, which keeps us in that state of chaos, right? We're making them so complex and they're so hard and we can't get through it. And what you just said just leveled out for me for so many different areas in my life. And I think I'm pretty good at doing the meditation, but that breathing that we just did, it got me very calm in this moment. In
Mhm.
this moment, I think you said other, pay attention, stay present to where you are, not what's on the TV. There's a difference. Stay present to where you are in your solitude. Stay present to what's speaking to you, not what the world's pouring into your head. What's speaking to you? That's why I'm confident. People say, "Sure, you're so optimistic. You're just always so happy." And I'm like, because I really believe in my core. Where
Yes.
did your teaching come from, Jenee? Who in your lineage,
Mm.
where did this come from for you?
So many places. I mean, there's so many places to learn from. I learned as a young person growing up in New York, um, early exposure to the theater and the dance world. You learn to use your body as an early writer, writing stories, studying literature, studying people, traveling across the country, studying the sacred text. I have a second degree in theology, really understanding the scriptures and not um, from beyond an organizational or an empire Christianity point of view, from the sacredness and the purity of the message that was transmitted from God, the source, the all in all. Um, so from so many places, I learned. I think also my learning comes from my own hunger. So what are you hungry for? Whatever you're hungry for, move in that direction. And the listening to what is in the way, listening to what I asked myself that today in my meditation. What is distracting me? People pay a lot of money for our attention. We've been through this whole Facebook scandal, etc. People pay millions, billions of dollars to arrest our attention, to get us to look over there, look over here, come over here, come in closer. Don't you want this? People pay for your attention, which must tell us something about the power of it. So if I align my attention to where I really want to go, what is the power in that? So
Oh my
I'm a reader. I've studied a lot of the current meditation leaders, and many of them are scientists and neuroscientists as well. So it's a variety of things. And I've studied our people, our history, our culture, as I've mentioned, and it's an eclectic path.
I want to say thank you. And I knew I was walking in the presence of greatness when I was around you. I knew that. And I had no idea that you had a degree in theology. That's not even in your bio. You didn't write
Mhm.
that one down, you know? So thank you for sharing that because I think that also leads to why the conversation and the importance of it. And I can't say it enough. I think that while even you're here today and this should be pumped across the airways, like everybody should be listening and wanting to hone in on those skills, but we're distracted, like you said, we're distracted, we're being pulled in so many different directions. But if you had to recommend to someone in terms of developing a practice so that we can get in alignment, what would that be, Jenee? What would that look like?
I, you know, there's a way to bring mindfulness into your life on what I call the on the go practice, the integrated practice. I'll teach you a very simple one. It's called 3 breaths. You find your breath, attention to your breath. You invite the body to relax, and then you ask the simple question, what is important now? That just helps you to move your attention to this present moment and say what's important now and allow that to bubble up. It could be like, I need a glass of water, or let me call my mom, or not the next 50 things, but what is the next important thing? Something like that is an integrated practice. Another integrated practice is called stop, STOP. Stop, take a breath, observe, and proceed mindfully. Another way I like to say it is stop, take a breath, observe. Remember, it's mind, body, surroundings. Observe, and then pray. STOP. So there's ways you integrate the practice, but the way to really get your neural pathways to grow and change in a different direction is through a dedicated, regular, consistent meditation practice. Start with 5 minutes. Start with 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day. Use some of the meditation apps like Calm, CALM, or Insight Timer. And and Liberate is a wonderful meditation app started by a young African American man to just help get you started in building a practice, doing some regular, consistent, guided meditations until you can just sit quietly, following the breath for the 10 minutes. Your mind is going to wander, that is natural. You're going to notice meta attention. Notice, how am I paying attention? Oh, I just started thinking about my shopping list. Okay. Oh, gently and easily bring yourself back to the breath. This practice with consistency is what builds new neural pathways, is what helps us to be able to listen and discover what is really underneath, building what is called awareness, building self-awareness. And that is the first place to start in anything. It's with the self. And it's what will help us to be when we're in these triggering situations or thorny situations where we can pull it in. I like to say, take 2 steps back, survey the situation, and then I can respond and not just react. So that's why it's called a practice, because you practice it. So it is simple in its expression, but it takes a dedication and I want to say a discipline to do it. I say love yourself enough to just give yourself a few minutes every day, and then grow it. Grow your practice.
Wow, thank you so much, Jenee. That was amazing. I really encourage anybody that's listening. I do have a practice. It's really interesting because I've watched myself come forward. There was a time when I'm not there now, but there was a time when I could literally meditate for an hour, literally in calm in an hour. My mind now races, so I'm almost feel like a baby starting all over again. And a part of that had to do with I would be consistent for a period of time and then I'd kind of fall off. And then I'd be consistent for a period of time and then I'd fall off. And so then when I would come back to it, it's retraining, like you said, the neurons in your brain to be able to sit, because it's something you get antsy when you sit that long. It's like, because you're so used to doing, I gotta be like this is
Right.
I just be sitting with no TV, no anything but a candle, and I also use sage or Palo Santo to kind of clear my space. But I can say that it's rewarding when I do it, but going through it, getting in the habit of doing it's like discipline. But I can definitely tell you my day always starts off better when I do it. Always.
Absolutely. Mindfulness, stillness, silence is the first medicine.
It's ancient. It's ancient, and it belongs to everybody. The breath is the most basic unit of life. And it's so important, the breath, is that we're not in charge of breathing. How about that? It's a part of the autonomic nervous system. God is like, you know what? I am not leaving the breath, you in charge of the breath, because what's going to happen? You're going to get distracted and stop breathing and then dead. So it's a part of the autonomic nervous system. Breath,
Y'all get
heartbeat,
that autonomic? Did you get that autonomic breathing system?
nervous system. And we don't need we breathing is natural. You don't have to stop to think to breathe. So what you need to do then, what the practice is I focus my attention on the breath, because the breath is happening anyway. Just focusing, I'm learning to train my attention. And that is the thing that everybody wants from us. But here's the thing, you talked about the I in fit is intuition.
Yeah.
To access the depth of your intuition, your imagination, you need to pay attention. To receive love, to give love in the best quality of ways, you need to pay attention. The best gift we give anybody is our presence with attention. So this thing called attention and training it is 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 it's priceless. There's no price to put on that. And it's the access point for greatness.
Wow. Wow. Please take notes, you guys. Please take notes. So intuition. Well, then let me add, let's go on and take it the next step. Let's go on and take it to tenacity. How, because everything we're talking about, the practice of it, first of all, understanding it. Then once you understand it, at least conceptually, you have an idea what mindfulness, we all know breathing is very important to it. The tenacity, getting into action.
Yeah. Well, self-love is your best protection for anything. And we will say, girl, I love myself. I love myself. Stop talking. Let's take a look at how that looks. And sometimes instead of using the word discipline, I love to use the word devotion. What about devoting ourselves to the practices, the rituals, the behaviors, one little practice at a time that really pour into ourselves, that give back, that restore and replenish? And the tenacity involved is that we stick with it. We fall down, we get up. We fall off, we come back. It's part of the journey. And we do so without being mean to ourselves, without punishing ourselves, without feeling guilty, without talking bad to ourselves, with truly the understanding is that is the practice. Anybody who's achieved anything, and you're an Olympian, anybody who's achieved anything great knows that there are times of where you fall down. There are times when it takes that little extra to get up. And so we do that. And that's why in all of this, what needs to be deeply underneath this is self-compassion. We are in the midst of what is called a VUCA world. It's volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, it's ambiguous, it's challenging. And so we want to be able to understand that and treat ourselves well, and then give to ourselves tenaciously with these practices that will help us just be our best selves.
Jenee, I love everything you just said, girl. You speak to my spirit. I've got chill bumps at least 3 or 4 times. I still got them as you have been speaking, because I am a firm believer when that happens, just speaking to my spirit. My spirit said, listen to that. Pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. So I'm definitely paying attention. I really am one that aspires to walk in to walk my talk, right? Talk
Mhm.
my walk, not just be a person who just is up here having a conversation, but truly have a practice in my life where I'm demonstrated it. And the reason I can come on here and share with you is because I'm going through it too.
Yes.
I am definitely a firm believer in that, and my whole platform was designed and built around that one concept. But one of the things you talked about, I want to just go back to for a second, and you talked about breathing. And the thing that I do know to be true about most of us, and I want to say when I say most of us, I want to say the population, 80% or greater, we don't know how to breathe.
Right.
We really don't know how to breathe. Taking those deep breaths is everything. I have a girlfriend who does breathing meditation practices, and I've done like this hyperventilating kind of breathing with her. And I'm going to tell you, we've done it for like a long period of time where I've had mental breakthroughs. And so it's a real thing. Can you talk about what appropriate way, how best to breathe, and why we need to understand why? I mean, you've already talked about breath. We know breath is the, if you don't know, now you know. If somebody asks you, what is the most important thing in life? Your answer should be, I don't think there's a should. Your answer is your breath, because without it, you're dead. You're not living. So breath, not food, not water, not your career, not the job, not the book, not the kids, not the husband, not the breath. Because if you can't breathe, you can't do anything. But with all that said, back to my question to you, Jenee. How do we breathe? What is the
Well,
appropriate way?
I think that we often breathe in a very shallow way, and where the body needs the breath to bring through the oxygen to oxygenate our cells. You know, one of the most potent ways to breathe is with the belly breath. Is to breathe so that you expand the belly and then breathe out, and the belly contracts. This belly breath is what you see babies do. If you watch a little infant, they breathe very naturally from their bellies. So this belly breath is the deeper inhale and exhale activates what's called the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the body's calming response. So once again, coming back to the breath is the deeper, less shallow breath that activate the body's calming response. You know, when we are under duress and stress, we tend to breathe like that, right? Because everything is constricting. The
Right.
deeper the breath, the more fuller the oxygenation process, and the body is saying calm. And that gives us more access to the prefrontal cortex in our brain, so that which is what's going to help us have good judgment.
Yeah.
So belly breathing is really a wonderful form. There's some wonderful books on breath out right now. And I wish I could just remember the name. I think it's called Breath or Breathe.
Yes, if your friends, you can always come back in and add it in the comments for me or send it to me, and I'll be sure to get it
Yes,
comments so that
yes,
people can really resonate, because I think that's a great tool to have those resources available. But even without that, we also have something that's also a very powerful tool, and it's called Google. And that tool,
yes.
if you look it up and go onto YouTube, you can find numerous things that can help along this way. But Jenee, I just want to say to you, thank you. We still have some time here, but just in the midst of this, I just need to say thank you. I'm feeling a sense of gratitude, because I think we're all so busy and we're looking for the answer, and you just gave it to us. And if for people are really listening, they will get the value. It doesn't have to be complex. It's the simple things. It's you being present to your life. It's you being truly being mentally fit. And a part of being mentally fit is you developing a practice to take care of yourself. My grandmother, if you don't take care of yourself, then you can't take care of anybody else. It's like when you're on the airplane and you're in turbulence, what's the first thing they tell you to do? Put the mask on yourself first, even before you do your children, because if you pass, then you can't help them. And I think we're all in need of really getting that we are our savior. You are your savior. You are. You come into this world alone, and we go alone. The best I know, I've never had anybody come back and tell me differently. But just making sure that you're developing a practice that's taking care of you. Um, I'm sitting here on the edge of my seat at the same time. I'm calm because I know I have so many more questions I want to ask you. I would like, we have a few minutes here. You don't have to spend that long, but you've given us so many good tools um, about how to really apply mindfulness. I just want to say, in the world that we're living in today, with all the and it is chaos. It's pure chaos on every single level that you can possibly imagine. It's chaos. And for us to remain productive and thrive, not just survive, especially after we started the conversation talking about we've been here over 300 years, 300,000, excuse me.
Mhm.
Um, any other tools that you would give us?
Well, I would say that, and you touched on it a little earlier, movement is medicine. You've got to move your body, and movement also helps you to metabolize stress. See, the reason why so much of our self-care does not work is because we have tremendous amount of stress, and it's just like putting a little Band-Aid on. So what we want to do is you mentioned paying attention to your own life, having rituals and practices that nourish you and build you. Um, movement is medicine, and rest. It's not always about production. Your value is not always in about how much you can do, but it's about who you can be. It's about being, and then allowing the doing to flow from who you're being. And I think that
I got another chill, girl. You made like I got another one, but anyway, please continue. Don't stop, please.
well, that's what I would say, especially for the feminine, we need to move our systems, move our bodies, and rest. We're not, I mean, America has an issue, a sleep issue, a rest issue. And I think as women, we get into a bit of overdrive. Our bodies are over adrenalized, and our systems really were not designed that way. So I would say move your body, eat good, nourishing food, and rest. And the ultimate is pleasure. You must have pleasure. You must have joy and enjoyment and really take note of the things that bring you pleasure. That's my prescription.
It's so good. So I just want to say, Caitlin, thank you for joining in. Candy is one of my dearest friends. And Charla, I love her. I've watched her grow up. We have been friends forever. So she just says hi from Candace's daughter-in-law. You are both amazing. I'm definitely going to rewatch this with Charla. Thank you for this. And no, thank you, because the platform is how do we empower ourselves? If we're so busy doing, there's something called be, do, and you can have. But you have
Mhm.
to be first. Then you do, and then you have. It's not do, have. It's
Yeah.
not running a rat race. And I'm talking to myself in that particular moment. It's not do. You need to be, do, and have. This is the being part. Who are
Yes.
you being? Who are you being in your life? Do you slow down enough? Not slow down enough to listen. I'm talking about slow down enough for you. Everything we've just talked about, self practice. Do you have a practice? Do you have a practice? Any practice? in which you're taking care of self-care. I'm all about taking care of myself. I like hair, nails, makeup, I like all that. But that's not what I'm talking about here.
Right.
I'm talking about your inner self
Hmm.
because that's where your power is. And
Yes.
the moment you overlook that, you missed an opportunity for you to be, do, have what you say you want in your life. So take time for you. You're worth it. You're worth it. I'm so honored, Jenee, to have you here today. I'm so honored to have this conversation. One of the things I love, I take notes. And you make me better. You make me
Thank you.
more aware of everything that I'm doing. And I want to thank you from the
Oh, thank
bottom
you.
of my heart for just being here today. I want to ask you a question. Well, I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
We support you.
Um, you know, um, that's a good question. I am launching a project called the Right Within Experience for the reclamation of humanity, joy, and well-being for people of African ancestry. But I speak to all people. I mean, I've done a series for the San Francisco Zen Center. I've done work for UC San Francisco. Um, so if you are interested in really deepening this work, not just for yourself as an individual, but for your teams and for your units and your divisions, for your businesses, call on me. I'm happy to come and teach this. This is what I do for the Department of Public Health in San Francisco. I have brought mindfulness into public health practice. And we're the only public health department in the country doing have a dedicated department for trauma informed systems initiative that includes mindfulness. We teach our employees mindfulness and emotional intelligence, these very important human competencies of self awareness, self management, managing conflict, cooperation, the things that really help us get the important and complex work that we're up to done, because nothing happens outside of relationship. And the better self you can bring to that relationship, then the better everything that we do is.
Absolutely. Well, I've just put on the screen Jenee's website, so please do reach out to her. I know with her, not only her practice, but with her technical background, her education makes her more than qualified to come in and share how she can help you transform either your own personal life and or your organization. I know that I'm going to be using you, Jenee. I know that I am going to be using you. I want to say thank you for trusting me today. Again, I really appreciate you. I want to ask you one last question, but I want you to answer. I want you to answer. I'm going to make a few announcements and then I'll come back and then you can answer. But I'm going to ask the question. And the question is, if you could leave one piece of advice, what would that advice be? But before you answer that, I want to say to everyone here, first of all, whether you listen to this now or you listen to it later, I want to thank you for continuing to support the work that I'm doing for the community. I am truly about being an advocate for women and women of color. My goal this year is to reach 50 million women. And I can't do that alone. It's going to take a community, it's going to take a village. I ask you to join me. One of the ways you can do that is go to my website and sign up. Just sign up to be a part of this journey with me. We are currently in conversations to take this programming that I'm doing, and I'd love to partner with you too, to Africa, to South Africa. So I'm really excited about it because I'm very committed to the work that I'm doing. I'm very committed to helping to transform the lives of others. I also do work. I have consulting work that I do for DEI. I do coaching. I do this. I do webinars. I also do master classes. I'm also into fitness because fitness for me, that is the other aspect of it. Because if you're not physically fit, what good does it do you to have all the knowledge in the world, but your body, your health is your wealth. So taking care of you is the most important thing you could do. So I do a lot around fitness. We have some challenges coming up, and they're going to be simple. I'm over the top. I got that. I'm I'm maybe over the top for some, maybe not for all, but for some. And for those, I want to meet you where you are. But what I want you to do, my only desire for you is to live your most healthiest life. I want nothing else, just for you to live your most healthy life. I've now logged close to, I want to say 250, 300 of these interviews. And I bring these individuals like Jenee Johnson to help you, to bring expertise to you. And plus, we have a platform that you get to see women of color that are out there killing it. They're making it happen. You're seeing it here live. So I want to encourage you to definitely leverage them, and any one of those. You can go to my YouTube and join. I would definitely love the support there. Subscribers always helps. We live in that world, you guys. That's the world we live in. Likes, they just work. So anything you can do to Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, any of those measures would be greatly appreciated. I also want to announce that next week I'm going to have Madison Butler, the unicorn, on here. This girl, she is amazing. On LinkedIn, I think she has almost 100,000 followers. She is amazing, and I like her bluntness about the realities of the world that we're living in, but also her anecdotal way of how she's approaching it at the millennial level. And she is a millennial, and I'm just happy to have her on board. So please do tune in for that. I also just want to share with you that I'm so excited. I was recently awarded, I'm vice chair for the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce, of which I'm very proud to serve. And I was recently, or I will be on October the 21st, from 11 to 1:30. It's going to be at Scott's Seafood Bar and Grill in Oakland, California, in Jack London Square. I will be receiving the Chairman's Award, which is one of the most pristine awards you can receive as a board member. And I am just so excited and to have that honor. And I want to thank my entire board, as well as um, my team, everybody on the team and members, because it is a special award. With that said, I'm going to go back to you, Jenee. I'm going to go back to you. So, what is the one thing that you would leave, a piece of advice for everybody?
It's something that I said earlier, and that is rest. We have been through an unprecedented time with this pandemic, and also a heightened awareness of the issues around social justice as it impacts issues of race, and all people of all ethnic groups, our Latino brothers and sisters, our Asian brothers and sisters, all of us. It's about the sum of us, our white brothers and sisters. Things have impacted all of us at very deep levels. There's been a lot of trauma and grief in the collective. And so, what I would say is stop and rest. That's my message.
That's your message.
Take time out.
Well, Jenee Johnson, I want to thank you again from the bottom of my heart. I cannot wait to work with you in the future, and I wish you continued success in everything that you do, and the world needs you.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank
You're doing such great work. Thank you for
thank
building this platform. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. So don't you hang up. You stay there. I'm going to end the broadcast. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for continuing to support me. And I'll look forward to seeing you next Thursday on Fit Live. God bless.